Hello YouTube, Kevin here for Superpower Broadcasting. In this video, I'm going to be briefly discussing one question that is often posed by the isolationist. And it goes something like this, and it's been phrased to me and asked of me on many occasions, in particular on my main page, which you can like and follow at Liberal Hawk Memes for Moral Universalist Teens on Facebook. The question is often asked as, when are you joining the military though? Which I always get a kick out of because it's basically just isolationist bingo phrases, one after another, verbatim. My friend Arthur actually made a meme of a bingo board with some common isolationist phrases such as, when are you joining the military though? And you personally killed 1 million Iraqi kids. And some other ones that are just great. Because everything's hyperbolic and overinflated and anti-logic with the isolationists, right? But what's great about this question, of course, is just that it's so devoid of logical reasoning and everything in so many ways. And I'm just going to discuss them in this video. So, a bit of background about me. After 9/11 happened, what I wanted to do? I wanted to move to the, basically, so after 9/11 happened, what did I want to do? I wanted to join the U.S. Air Force. I later decided that I wanted to be an architect and everything. And then afterwards, way down the road, I decided I want to go into politics, and now I'm more leaning towards media and everything. But that spirit, that intent, that desire to get retaliation at terrorists and everything, that's still with me and everything. It's not like I have any sort of apprehension towards joining the military. To be an officer in the Air Force would be actually a really meaningful career, right? The only issue is that it probably would mean that I wouldn't be able to have a career as a YouTube political commentator, and so I'd rather do commentary for politics, basically. But I have all the respect in the world for those in the military. What was revealed, of course, one of the particular isolationists that phrased this question to me, he actually is so disgusted with the military that even somebody that you would think he would support, which is tHe Gabbard, who did serve in the military. She did, in all fairness to her, she did serve in the military. He regards her military service as basically disqualifying, that she was an imperialist stormtrooper and all of this, which is just comical. He describes tHe Gabbard as way too right-wing. And I mean, she kind of is right-wing, right? Like, I argue in other videos that I think that she's going to court all of the 4chan boys and the anti-Jewish people who are disillusioned with Trump, and they're way more right-wing than Trump. But she's officially touted as this like left-wing progressive and everything, but being a left-wing progressive is too right-wing for this guy, basically. Like, he's an actual Stalinist, right? Well, that's just one person that I happen to deal with, but others also ask the question, which is interesting because it gets at a number of logical fallacies. One of my friends, Nightmare Fuel, he has a channel on YouTube that's way bigger than mine, right? He's been doing this a lot longer than I have. He's got about 10,000 subscribers. He had a good response to the question, because I asked, well, how do you handle that? And he told me, well, there's a few ways that you can go about it, but the way that he looks at it is it's basically tantamount to asking, well, you say that you're against fires, that you don't want your place to burn down, so you have to become a firefighter. Or you don't like crime, so you have to become a cop. Or in my case, I don't like dictators, so I have to join the military. Well, that's not really a logical, that's kind of a non sequitur. It's not logically coherent in that sense. You can be against something, without actually being the one in the job that actually handles it. Because if you had to be in that job for all the things that you were against, crime, fires, dictators, because I'm against all those things, right? I'd have to have 3 full-time jobs. I'd have to be a police officer, a firefighter, and in the Air Force. Like, that's not going to happen, right? So, I mean, it's goofy. It's goofy. I mean, I also don't like Anthony Fantano, and I don't like his taste in music. So, I have to do music reviews too. So, for example, in that case, now I do have a music review channel that I'm just starting. But what's great, of course, is that anything that you don't like, you must be compelled to work in your career doing the thing that's opposed to that. That is just goofy. It's just goofy. So that was one response by Nightmare Fuel. One of the ways that I look at it, of course, I have a couple retorts. And I feel that these are useful. If you're a hawk out there watching this, you probably have isolationists all the time now with the populist fad going on, asking you or telling you, well, when are you joining the military or whatever? Well, there are a few ways that you can respond, of course. The first is you can enlist or become an officer in the military and do it. But I will tell you, it's a good career, definitely a good career. Honorable career, absolutely. But here's the thing. If you do that to satisfy your opponents, if you're not doing it because you believe in what you happen to believe in, or you love America, for example, if you're just doing it to have some sort of firepower against the isolationists, don't. Because here's the thing. If you do join the U.S. military and you do follow through and everything, and you go and say, for example, are deployed to, say, Afghanistan or something, all these isolationists who ask, when are you joining the military? Well, now all of a sudden they're going to call you a bloodthirsty, warmongering, imperialist stormtrooper. Like, it's not going to make you have any more credibility to them. They're going to see you as just as evil as they used to. So it's not going to change any minds. It's not like it's going to be seen as a political capital or anything in your favor. Join the military if you want to join the military. If you feel compelled to join the military for personal convictions, do it, absolutely. But don't do it to feel like you have some higher standing with the isolationists. No, they hate service people just as much as they hate hawks that aren't in the military. They just hate the military. It's as simple as that. Unless you're in the Russian military or Kim Jong-un's military or Assad's military, they love that. They love those guys. Like, if you're going around and clamping down on democratic protesters, or you're bombing Syria to prop up Assad, or you're shutting down homosexual rallies in Moscow or feminist rallies in Moscow with the Russian services or whatever, oh, they love that. They absolutely love that. They are Westphalian. They love all the dictatorships. They'll see you as an anti-imperialist hero and stand in solidarity with you. But if you're in the U.S. military, no, they'll hate you. If you're hawking, you're not in the military, they'll ask you, when are you joining the military? And if you're in the military, they'll say, oh, you're a bloodthirsty warmonger who never saw a war you didn't love. That's what they did with John McCain. I mean, if all these arguments that they make are true, that, well, they'll have respect for you or whatever if you join the military. No, they hate John McCain. They make all kinds of memes that are just grotesquely offensive about, eating John McCain's brain and all this stuff and everything, and they're trying to tear apart Meghan McCain. No, they despise McCain. They absolutely despise McCain. That's proof right there. He was one of the most honorable people in history, right? And they despised him. So you're never going to win any points with these people. That's just some advice to the hawks out there. If you might take some of their arguments to heart or whatever, I'm not saying don't join the military, but don't join it to make those guys happy. Do it for yourself, right? And to honor your country and everything. So that's the deal there. Now, of course, I look at it from another perspective. I often will position the question back to them and say, when are you moving to North Korea? Or if I'm feeling generous, I'll give them palliative options available. I'll say, well, when are you going to move to one of the regimes that you defend? I'm so nice, I'll give you a choice. You can go to Iran, you can go to Syria, or you can go to North Korea. And I'm not talking some cushy Western hotel in the capital with diplomatic immunity like Tinky Tulsi Gabbard got when she went over there and hung out with the establishment in Syria. I'm talking the real country. I'm talking the countryside, like go walk the walk, actually live in one of these places that you defend all the time. I'll say that to Kyle Kalinske. When are you going to go and live in Syria? When are you going to go and live in North Korea? If you always are so upset when the U.S. considers doing anything about Iran, when are you going to go and live in Iran? I mean, that's not necessarily, again, a wholly logical position, because some of these people, in fairness to them, they'll say, oh, I don't actually like those countries. I just don't think that liberating them would be good or whatever. Now, I think that that's a grotesque position still. I think it's largely an ignorant position. But some of them actively are like, oh, no, Iran is misunderstood, or North Korea is misunderstood. You don't understand. They just want peace or whatever. No, those people, they should go and live over there. Absolutely. Like, if you're going to walk, and like, if you're going to talk the talk about that and defend Kim, you're going to be in Korean Friendship Association or whatever, and you're going to go over there and travel there a couple times a year and get the state dinners and all that sort of stuff. No, you should go and live over there. Just do it. Just go and live over there. If you love the country so much, if you love the regime, go and live there. I mean, now, of course, in my view, I'd still liberate them anyway because of the people, but I mean, I wish reincarnation existed, so that these people can be reborn in these countries that they refuse to support the liberation of in this life. Like, if you're spending this life defending the Ayatollah and Assad and Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, you deserve in your next life to be born in one of those countries. And then you'll be begging for some neoconservatism, right? I mean, that's how that goes. But so the other way that I often look at this too is, well, there's the whole aspect of, well, when are you joining the military? I'll say, well, when are you going to go and live in one of these places that you shell for or whatever? But the other sort of retort that comes about with these sorts of things is, well, if I did join the military, say for example, does that automatically just mean that immediately, all of a sudden, we have a hawkish foreign policy? Not just a foreign policy, but like a culture. So whether, say, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, whoever wins the election, that we're going to have a hawkish foreign policy. No, it doesn't. Like, if you join the U.S. military right now, absolutely honorable. The service people, absolutely honorable. But let's keep it real. Your commander-in-chief is serving the Kremlin right now. Like, it's not like if you sign up for the U.S. military that all of a sudden we're going to liberate Iran and we're going to liberate North Korea. Like, the U.S. president is serving the Kremlin. He's serving fascist Russia. I'm not saying don't join the military, because in a couple of years it's going to be gone. But, I mean, let's just keep it real. It's not like if you join the military that all of a sudden we're going to have a hawkish foreign policy. In fact, I would argue, if you're somebody who's well-versed in international relations and has studied this stuff and everything and can hold your own in a debate and all of that, realistically speaking, the cause is probably better served by you not necessarily joining the military, unless that's what you want to do. You're probably better off in media, or as a foreign policy analyst, or running for public office, becoming a politician, because this is the third aspect of this argument that's illogical from the isolationists. They, in essence, see it as, well, you can only be a hawk if you're in the military. And so, therefore, if we're going to have a hawkish foreign policy, we have to have a military junta. Like, that's basically the logical conclusion of what they're arguing. I don't want to live in a military junta. I believe in civilian leadership. I believe in accountable government. I believe in a democracy. I believe in a professional military where the commander-in-chief is an elected civilian. I mean, that's the only way that you can do it without it turning into like Stalinism, basically. So, and now of course these people, they don't want a hawkish foreign policy. That's the game they're playing, right? They don't actually want anybody. The whole idea is so that no hawks ever go into politics. That's their end game, right? Now, of course, I'm not going to listen to them. I hope that nobody who watches this listens to them, of course. I hope that if you are a hawk out there and everything, and I hope that you take these words to heart, right? But here's the deal, of course. That whole military junta angle, that whole aspect of doing away with the civilian leadership and everything, and having somebody who's actively in the military be the leader. Yeah, guess what? That's like North Korea. I think Kim Jong-un is considered like the chairman of the State Defense Commission or something, the National Defense Commission. I know he's like a quote unquote 4-star general or 5-star general or whatever in the artillery brigades or whatever. I mean, so he's technically considered active service. Like, this is the stuff that dictatorships do. Like, this is like Pinochet level stuff. This is Hitler level stuff. That's not how America or any Western country is governed. You don't have a general running your country who's an active general. You have to go into civilian life and run for office if you're going to do it, like Dwight Eisenhower, for example, right? I mean, that's how the system is supposed to work. That's one of the principles of having a liberal democracy. So it's a non-starter basically. And then of course, the other aspect of that is, well, they won't respect you even if you do join the military. They'll just call you a warmonger or whatever. But when it comes down to it, of course, these people, there's no way to win with them. There's no meeting them on their turf. There's no meeting them halfway, because halfway between liberal democracy and defending fascist dictators who genocide and gas their own people, guess what? That halfway point is way too far to the fascist end that I'm willing to accept. I am a moral universalist. I am not a moral relativist. I'm not willing to compromise my values with these people. We can have a debate about what the proper tax rate should be. We can have a debate over whether we should have absolute free speech, whether we should have limits on free speech. We can have a debate over what regulations on guns there should be. But we're not having a debate over whether we should be friends with dictators or whether we should liberate their people. That is not up for debate, in my opinion. The only question, in my view, is what order do we do it in? Do we start with the most egregious human rights abuses like Syria and North Korea? Or do we start with the ones that are the biggest threats to us from a security perspective, like Iran trying to get nukes or North Korea with nukes? Syria is not really trying to get nukes. They just happen to be a humanitarian disaster. So that's really the only question in my view. And how many do we liberate simultaneously? Do we do one at a time? Do we do 2 wars at a time? How long is the total span of it? Because like my end game sees the world as a global democracy by the year 2100. But that might be too ambitious for some people. We can have a debate about that. Here's what we're not having a debate about. Whether we should be cool with people like Hitler and Assad and Kim, or whether we should actually care about their people and liberate them. Like that's not up for debate with me. So I'm not willing to meet them halfway. I'm not willing to meet them 25%. I'm not willing to meet them 1%. Because at the end of the day, they are acting on behalf of the worst elements of society. They are bootlicking for some of the worst people that have ever lived in the history of humanity, the worst tyrants that we've ever seen with the Kim dynasty, with Assad, where they make Stalinism, especially in North Korea, they make Stalinism look amateurish. I mean, it's unbelievable that we're even having a conversation. So with these people, the Tanky Tulsi Gabbard types, the Ron Paulers, the Alex Jones fanboys, the alt-right, etc. So no, when it comes down to this, it's a non sequitur, it's a non-starter, it's something that if somebody ever says that to you, if you make a hawkish position and that's what people follow it with, that's their response, just laugh. Just say, wow, that's pretty goofy. And, add the points about, well, when are you moving to North Korea? Or when are you moving to Syria? Or what, you think that if I join, all of a sudden we'll have a hawkish political culture for decades or whatever? You can go with those. But I think the Nightmare Fuel one is probably better. Like if you're at a party or something, it probably plays better. Say, oh, well, so the only way that I can be against crime is if I become a police officer. Do you want your house robbed? Why aren't you a cop? Like, that works better. That works better. Nightmare Fuel has been doing this a lot longer. He's been dealing with the isolationists on YouTube at least a lot longer than I have. I've been at university, right? I deal with them all the time too. But Nightmare Fuel, he's a smart guy. Reese's a smart guy, and so that one's probably the one that I would go with. Probably play better, or you use a combination of them. But anyway, thanks for watching YouTube, and hopefully you take these points of advice, and hopefully they work for you. So thank you.